Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is April and Mac here. We are the Renaissance Women. We are here to help be your guides on your journey to find the most truest, most beautiful expression of your divine self. Speaking of divine self, today we are here to talk about
the divine feminine.
What is the divine feminine, many of you may ask. Lots of people, surprisingly, don't know. The divine feminine, to me, everyone has their own version, I like to think of it as a flower, and the divine feminine just gently opens, and then the bee comes and pollinates it. So divine feminine is all about opening, receiving, feeling beauty, sacred space. And how the difference would look with the divine masculine is that the flower would chase the bee around and be like, pollinate me, hurry, you must pollinate me by Tuesday. I have goals, I have a deadline, I have hustle, I have to get pollinated before this flower does. So that is how I see the difference between the divine feminine and the divine masculine.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, and the important thing to note here is that we all have aspects of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. It is the yin and the yang, the light and the dark. We have all of these points in us. What is the divine feminine to you? How else would you describe
the divine feminine for me, at least from a personal standpoint, is it has more to do with emotion and expressing my emotion versus bottling it up and seeing emotion as weak instead of a superpower.
Yes.
So that's how I personally have felt the divine feminine versus masculine for me, and what I'm constantly trying to reconcile within myself.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, so patriarchy got started in 31,000 BC. And since that time, it has definitely been out of balance. The divine masculine has turned into the damaged masculine, which we call patriarchy. And I'm not here to bash on men because women also support the patriarchy. So the patriarchy is control and dominance, and one person's at the top. And how I like to think of this is you build towers and then you put the bricks on, and they're usually built by slaves that are also in suffering. So you build these huge towers, and then eventually the tower gets so tall and it has to fall over because of gravity, because of science. So how I like to think of the divine feminine is we are in a circle. We hold hands. There's 4 of us in a circle, and then we can open the circle and let 5, and then 6, and then 7. The circle can slowly expand. And then also within the circle, there can be smaller circles that are also just starting. Because as this circle expands, these circles in the middle can expand. So we can all expand and grow together. This is also what I call collaboration. So the divine feminine energy is 2 heads are better than one. It's collaboration. As you see, 2 heads are better than one. Especially when they're so cute.
When they look like this.
So I really love, we are entering, I'm sure a lot of you have heard, the age of Aquarius, the age of the divine feminine. And we're going to be hitting, the divine feminine is going to be reaching 70% energy in the yin and the yang. So it's only going to be that way until it gets into balance, because there always has to be balance. And right now, there is not a lot of balance. There's not a lot of divine feminine. There's not a lot of space or safety to have the expression of the divine feminine. So when we think about the divine feminine, one thing, as Max said, is really feel your emotions. And, I own 5 businesses, and I have done them in a very masculine way. And I've showed up in my headspace. So your masculine energy is stored between your head space and your heart space. Doesn't mean you still don't use your heart, that you don't love, that you don't care, but you're controlled by your thoughts and logic. So the divine feminine is from your heart to your womb space. It's all about emotions, feelings, intuition, allowance, flow. So if any of you haven't read the book, The Surrender Experiment, it is the most amazing book to show what happens when you step into flow. And it is purely magic, right, Matt?
Yep.
So when we are in this time of damaged masculine, a lot of the times we have to show up very guarded, very protected, very closed off. Well, we're closing ourselves off from our emotions. we're also closing ourselves off from our creativity,
Mhm.
because the divine feminine is all about creativity. And so when we are only coming from here, we can only solve problems from here.
Mhm.
And actually, if you think about from here to here, the womb space, we actually physically can create a whole other world. There's a whole world inside of women that creates a baby, and it creates a whole ecosystem for this baby to live and breathe and grow and transform. So it's all about transformation. It's all about rebirth. It's all about growth and creativity. And so when we cut ourselves off from that energy, we can only solve problems from this, which is we have to conquer, we have to dominate, we have to hustle.
Fear-based.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so what have you seen with the damaged masculine, like, energy in your life? Like, how has that affected you?
How has it affected me?
Yeah.
I think it affects every woman.
For sure. But you
on every
personally, like,
level.
what's a personal way that you feel like the damaged masculine has
Well,
impacted your life?
I think it's impacted my life. I grew up in a very masculine dominant religion, and so that has really shaped my life since, well, while I was in it, and also since leaving that religion, and just kind of reprogramming my brain to reject those very toxically masculine ideas and beliefs that were planted in my head for so long. And it's been a really empowering experience, healing and processing through all those issues that it did create. I mean, I think for a lot of women, it has to do with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, confidence is actually,
Like confidence
yeah,
across the board,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
body, work. I mean, in every aspect. I
Yeah.
think that's the single most damaging thing that the patriarchy, this, toxically masculine world we're living in,
Mhm.
that's the most negative effect it has on women, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And one other thing I was thinking about is there's this whole movement of women empowerment,
Mhm.
and even the word power seems to have a masculine
Mhm.
energy about it, which is not true, because the divine feminine is also the destroyer. She destroys things that aren't serving you, as hence forest fires, earthquakes,
Mhm.
tornadoes, tsunamis. That is Mother Earth. That is the divine feminine. So to say that the divine feminine is not powerful is a very misconception. But I think that the way that women have an association with empowerment looks masculine.
Yep, I agree.
And so the way that, a few years ago, I wanted to step into my power. And how I was doing that is I was dominating and I was stepping over people. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be nice. I am going to have these boundaries, and I'm going to be a bitch, and I'm going to do this. And I was not doing it in a feminine way. And ironically, when we aren't living our truth, when we aren't living in our divine feminine, our body manifests the stuck energy. So your chakras that you live in, your sacral chakra, your root chakra, your solar plexus, that is also where your womb is. So I manifested, by living in such a masculine way for so long, lots of feminine problems. And then as I've been doing research to try to get like help or surgery, because I manifested fibroids, cysts, and polyps in my uterus, and a gerbil. His name is Frank. Just kidding. I mean, might as well. Everything else was in there. He had these little balls to roll on. He was having such a great time.
He's playing with your polyps.
Yeah, totally. But anyway, so as I was researching, there's so little, everyone's just get a hysterectomy. Just get a hysterectomy.
Well, didn't your doctor say they didn't know anybody in your area that did embolizations,
Yeah.
and you found someone that has been doing it for 25 years?
Yeah, and actually what he told me was, let's take that pesky uterus out. To which my response was, well, let's just cut your balls off. Yeah. He was like, what? It totally shocked him. I was like, you know what? That's how I feel when you say that to me. So let's not say that.
Yeah.
But I did some research, and I found a lady who'd done it for 25 years. And she says that so often people just go to hysterectomies. The number is 60% overdone. The surgeries are 60% of the time. They don't need to be done. And also the word hysterical comes from the word hysterectomy. So all of these words are hysterical means feeling your emotions.
Wow.
And so they're like, we aren't allowed to feel our emotions because you're being hysterical and you're being weak and you're being emotional. And oh, if a woman's president, she's going to blow up the world if she's on her period or something, you know, all these really outdated, I mean, 31,000 BC outdated beliefs that don't serve us anymore. And you know, patriarchy is also really damaging to men. And so this is not men bashing. I love men. And I have so many men that are in my life that are really connected to their divine feminine. And it's beautiful thing. And I also have a lot of women that are totally 100% in their masculine. And they just show up like fierce, but really they're mean, they're cut off, they're shut off, they're closed, they're cold. There's no warmth there.
I want to circle back to what you were saying about when you first started, you know, dabbling in standing in your power and you came off like super strong. Because I think a lot of women do that. I lived a lot of my life like that, and only until I started even studying and understanding and bringing an awareness of the divine feminine versus patriarchy have I been able to find a balance. And I think that what you're saying is true. Like, so many fierce and like badass women come off as all these things that are supposed to be like all these strengths. Like, they're bitchy, they're dominant, they command a boardroom, they blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But which is great and useful.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that balance,
yeah, it's the balance for sure. Because you do need to be able to be in your masculine, right? Like
you have to turn it
I
on
do have
to live
you
in
know
this world.
like 200 employees, and I do have to go in and be like in my control the situation. Like if something's out of control, I have to be able to be like, okay, I have to be logical. I have to be like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, this, and this. I don't have time to be those emotionals. Now when I have an employee or someone who's like, hey, I'm really not feeling seen or valued, then that's the time you get in your emotions, and then you can sit with them and you empathize with them. And so it's really learning the art of the two, because if you are all just divine feminine, that's chaos, right? You're going to just be a bunch of tornadoes and storms and, you know, all of those things. So you do need the balance of the both. And I think that's what is happening in this world right now. What is shifting is finding the balance. You know, we just want all humans to have that balance, because imagine a world where everyone had self-love, where everyone had connection, where everyone was in tune with their emotions and not shut off from their emotions, where everyone, you know, coronavirus has forced us to take a step back from our hustle. You know, I know lots of people love Gary Vee and all of these things, but that is so damaging. That is so damaging. The hustle, the sacrificing, all of these things to buy things that we don't even need because of capitalism, which is also kind of run by patriarchy. Yeah. But, you know,
different subject,
different video. But, you know, I think a lot of us have seen that we don't need to live on as much. Like, we don't have to have as much stuff. There's this whole minimalist movement happening, which I feel like is also the divine feminine. She's coming in to destroy what no longer serves you. So looking at your life, you're like, this no longer serves me. Let's get rid of that. This no longer serves me. Let's get rid of that. Yeah. And part of that is working 80, 90 hours a week. That is no longer serving humanity. We have the #1 suicide rate, the #1 alcoholism rate, #1 depression rate. Like, this is what the world that we have created is causing. Depression, suicide, divorce. We have the highest divorce rate. Like, tons of manifestations of pain in our body, our emotional body. Because when we store trapped emotions, it manifests as pain in other ways. So allowing ourselves to feel our emotions and having that not be perceived as weak. And the more that men and women let themselves feel their emotions, the more that we give permission to other people to feel their emotions. And so so to break it down real quick, because now we've rambled a little bit. Mac hasn't said freaking anything. Sorry. Welcome to the April Minicosa rant. So really what I feel like is shifting from a head space to a heart space. So the head has many things it thinks will make us happy. The heart only has but a few. And I think finding time and space to find out what those things are, we have to really give ourselves permission to feel our emotions, to know ourselves, to have self-love. And so again, the divine feminine is creation, it is flow, it is beauty, it is compassion, it is softness, it is gentleness, surrender. And the masculine is control, dominance, protection. You know, there's also like protection. Like we do need to have protection, and we have needed that masculine protection. But we also are in a very safe time, even though it doesn't seem like it. I mean, people used to just draw and quarter people, and they had the crusades, and you just didn't stand a chance. So, you know, we have that kind of protection in us, but it is safe to be vulnerable, and it is safe. We just need to keep reminding ourselves, like, it is safe to feel your emotions. It is safe to be vulnerable. So 5 ways for you, men and women, to connect to your divine feminine would be: 1, really feel your emotions.
How?
So when you get anger come up, or you get like tears or rage or sadness, and then you want to go shopping, or you want to go distract yourself, or you want to go, oh, I'm just going to go read a book, or I'm going to go put on Netflix and I'm just going to forget about it, or I'm going to numb myself with alcohol and drugs and whatever. Like, you just take a pause. So everything in our life, awareness is the key to change. And it all starts with awareness. And once we have awareness that we are not feeling our emotions, it doesn't mean it's going to just
sometimes
come
that's
up.
enough.
Yeah, sometimes that's enough.
Sometimes having the realization, like, oh wow, I'm really trying to run away from this feeling right now. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Well, and then like even just that moment can be so healing, or such a powerful part of your healing process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so that awareness, and then the pause, right? So you have the awareness, and then you have the pause. What I like to do is I just close my eyes for a minute, and all we are is this moment, and all we are is this breath. Without our breath, we are dead. So I just close my eyes. Okay, that feels sticky. That feels crunchy. I don't like that. Okay. Okay, I feel like I might want to cry, but I don't have time to cry. It's fine. Okay, you can allow yourself to cry. It's safe. It's fine. Like, you're safe. You're held. No, I don't have to actually cry anymore. That feels pretty good. But you can cry. You know, you can cry. You can feel anger. Trust me. My friend, I had so much anger one day because I grew up as a people pleaser, and I never allowed myself to feel anger, because anger wasn't something that was going to help me survive the family dynamic that I grew up in. If I felt anger, I wasn't going to get fed, basically. It was almost that real. So I had to be the people pleaser. I mean, that's what I created in my head, this persona. And I just had so much pent up anger from, you know, all my ex-boyfriends cheated on me and all of these people, and I just had all this anger. And I had this dream that I was like walking around with a bat and just hitting people with it. And I was like, that is so not me. But then my friend bought me a bat and like got me a bunch of stuff to break. And she's just like, she's like, I'm just gonna have a Louisville Slugger every time you come over. But you know, I just allowed myself to feel that anger. And it felt really good. It felt good to just release it in a healthy way, in a safe way. Because if I don't, I store it in. And there's this cartoon my mother-in-law has on her fridge, and she's had it forever. And it has the guy, and he gets yelled at by his boss, or the woman. And then they come home and hit their spouse, or kick their spouse, or yell at their spouse. And they're like, da 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 da, because, you know, they got someone anger released on them, and they didn't deal with it. So then they took it down to their partner, and then their partner took it down to their children, and then their children kick the dog, and the dog's like, what did I do? Like, I'm just a dog. And so if we don't feel our anger, if we don't take control of our emotions, so we do have to have that balance of the masculine. You know, we have to like just feel our emotions, but so they don't get out of control, because that is the throwing up of it.
Yeah, it has to come out somewhere.
Yeah, it has to come out, and it will. And if it doesn't, it just is like a ticking time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is just building and building and building, and then you just see these people go crazy and explode. And every time I see something like that, I think, wow, there is like a little inner child in there that just needs to be loved and have permission to be loved. So feeling your feelings, letting go of the attachment that it's weak, that it's emotional. It is emotional. Your feelings are emotional. Emotional is not bad. So it's not bad to be emotional. It's not bad to be, hysterical, because it's not really being hysterical. It's just feeling your emotions.
Yeah.
And then really creating a ritual of sacred space. Divine Feminine loves beauty. It loves rituals. So what's a ritual that you have in your life that...
I was just thinking that. I don't do this every day, but I do this a couple times a week, where it's usually at night, because I'm a total night owl. And I'll roll out my yoga mat, and this is usually when I just need to recenter, where I need to create a safe space for myself to just feel and flow, because I still have a lot of work to do when it comes to finding that balance between feminine and masculine. I don't allow myself to feel safe most of the time. Not that I'm not safe, I just have this narrative in my head. Anyway, it's a whole thing. So every couple days, probably 3 or 4 times a week, I'll do this. I'll just I'll turn off all my lights, light some candles, lay out my yoga mat. I kind of will line the top of my yoga mat with crystals, mainly because my yoga mat folds and I need to lay them down, but also because it's pretty and I love my crystals and I need their energy.
Yes.
And I'll just turn on a meditation or meditation music, and sometimes I'll do some yoga flow. Sometimes I'll just sit there. Sometimes I'll lay down or like curl up with a blanket to feel really like
comforted.
Held. Yeah. And I don't really do guided meditations, but I just let myself just close my eyes and just let myself go. And sometimes that's processing something that happened. Sometimes that's just thinking, and sometimes I'll go into a really deep state where I'm, really doing some internal work. And then I get a journal and I just like purge it all.
That's awesome.
That's my journey of letting myself feel my emotions has involved a lot of just getting my thoughts out of my head.
Yep.
Because they've got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know how to show emotion effectively yet, but I know that they cannot stay trapped.
Yeah.
So that's been a really good outlet for me.
Yeah.
And then I've actually recently started going back through and reading those journal entries, because usually I kind of avoid them because emotion is scary, And so, but I've come to a place where I've been rereading a lot of those journaling, and that has brought so much reflection and information because I don't even remember what I'm writing most of the time. I'm not even really like conscious or really
You're in flow state.
I'm 100% in flow, and I don't know why I've never read back through, but I just started doing that like last week, and it's very eye-opening.
Awesome.
So that's something that I do. It sounds very, it
sounds nice and simple.
It's a lot more simple than I probably made it sound, but and I don't put pressure on myself. Like, I don't make myself do it every day. It just is whenever I know that I need to take a minute and just like love myself for a little bit and take care of myself. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, really, it's all of life is about the journey of staying in center and like keep coming back to center and recognizing and have the awareness when you're out of center.
Yeah.
Another thing too is the masculine is like the container that holds the feminine. So, Mother Earth is like nature is the feminine, but Father Sky is the container that holds and provides sunlight and all of that. So really, there is a strong desire of the masculine to protect, and so we will have that come up a lot. And what we do is there's like a trauma loop. You just recognize that you're in it when you feel like you're not safe to feel your emotions, and you just have the awareness, and then you say, I am safe, I am protected. And you keep telling yourself that, and it gets into your subconscious mind and it gets into your emotion body, and eventually that does go away. So it's just also incorporating the words, I am safe, I am protected, you don't. And also, you know, the divine feminine feminine is really fierce and fiery. So she doesn't really need to be protected. No. She's going to be just fine on her own. It's just, you need to let your masculine side know that.
One affirmation that and because I've been reading back through my journals, I wrote this down for pages, is I'm taken care of, I'm safe, I am taken care of, I am taken care of. And I don't even think that that need or that requirement to feel safe and taken care of has to do with feminine and masculine. It's just a human requirement.
Yes.
And so
it's your root chakra.
Yeah. And if you go for so long either not in a safe space or not feeling safe for whatever reason, you really do need that what's the word I'm looking for? Reminder, and that support. And it's crazy because as soon as I really started focusing on this idea of I am safe, I am taken care of, the things and the people that have come into my life since I started basically manifesting a safe space emotionally for myself is wild. Like what I have called into my life to actually make me feel safe and taken care of since I started focusing on those affirmations. And I didn't even realize that until I was like reading back through a couple nights ago. Yeah. So it can feel weak, I think, to a lot of people to need to feel taken care of or safe, whatever that looks like, but we're human.
Yeah, and also that is part of the divine feminine as well, is receiving and manifesting. Yeah. So with that creativity comes the receiving and the manifesting. And so as you do more of that, you're a magnet. The divine feminine is a magnet that attracts things to her. So that's awesome. And it's all just a journey. We're all on different points of our journey, and it's never the destination, because as we've seen, the destination is not ever certain. It could all just change tomorrow. So feeling your emotions, creating sacred space. It's beautiful. For myself, I like to take goddess baths, and I love to set out my candles.
Love your goddess
and
baths.
I do love my goddess baths. And I put sometimes rose petals. I am a big gift giver, and I love to give flowers, which means I receive flowers a lot. And sometimes I'll just grab the little rose and put them in my bath. And so I'll have rose petals, and I put some oils, and I have this whole ritual. And I think routine is very masculine. It's very logical, okay, I'm going to create this habit, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Ritual to me is more feminine. It's more with intention and beauty in mind. It's the creation of the space. Sometimes the creating of my goddess bath is my favorite part. The creating of the meal, the creating of the dinner.
It's like cooking the meal, and then you sit down, and you're like, I have to eat it now. It's over.
I know. You're like, oh, all right. Well,
that was so fun.
All right. Everybody enjoy it, but do it again tomorrow. But it's the creating of all of that. And so, so really making time for yourself, giving yourself space for that. Also, honoring our intuition. So intuition is very much a part of the divine feminine, and you get that little inkling of, I should do this. And then you're like, oh no, that's dumb. I'm not gonna do that. So every time that you don't do it, recognize it. Have the awareness of I knew I should have done that. And then to tell yourself that was your intuition, and next time I'll listen to you. I apologize to my intuition. I'm I'm sorry. I didn't listen to you. Yeah. I will listen to you next time. Yeah. And then, so Mac knows this because it's just happened yesterday. I had a friend that I wanted to buy flowers for. And then I was like, right. And she was like, okay, so do you want me to order flowers for her? And I was like, no, actually, I don't think flowers this time. Let's get her a crystal. Let's get her a selenite crystal. I want a selenite, and I want that one. And I was very specific with the crystal that I wanted. I was like, I want this selenite crystal. And then my friend, when she walked into her studio, she saw her crystal, and she was like, I can't even tell you my ex-husband broke my selenite crystal and I've wanted to get a new one. And I just asked the universe for one the other day. And then I walked into my studio and here is this, and she's like, it is the exact same. She's like, I thought my ex-husband brought back my crystal.
Yeah, and because it was wrapped, and she said, I knew exactly what it was the second I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was like she just knew that her crystal had come to her. And because I listened to my intuition, she got to manifest and receive her crystal. And I got to manifest giving someone their intention, which is like the collaboration of the win-win, which is also a big energy, you know. The masculine is like the damaged patriarchy, not the masculine, is I win, you lose, I conquer, right? Like I'm going to take over your entire town. I'm going to take over your entire country. You're all going to be Christians. You're all going to be Catholics. You're all going to be Muslims, whatever. Like I'm going to make you be my way. And the divine feminine is like, you win, I win. Everybody wins. The world wins. So if I win and if you win, and then the world wins. So think of all the companies that are creating win-win-wins. Win for you, win for me, win for the world. Because we also have to include Mother Earth in this because she's losing big time. And okay, so honor your intuitive gifts, create rituals, feel your feelings. Embrace just being still. So like what Max said, like that is actually part of the divine feminine that you're calling in there is the stillness. You have to have that space for the creativity to grow and plant the seed, and you have to give it light and you have to give it space. You can't plant the seed and be like, why aren't you growing? Why aren't you growing? Why aren't you growing? It's been 2 days. I want to see something. Like you just have to like plant it, water it, and just let it go and just give it space. And it's really hard for me specifically to do that because I'm an Aries and my soul animal energy is a mink, and all of like I'm a monkey, and all of my little things are like do. And so it's been the hardest challenge of my 40 years in life is to come to a place of stillness, and I'm still definitely working on it. But in those moments of stillness, I get downloads like that. I'm just like, oh, whoa, hello, I need to do this. I need to do this.
Which you think would make us want to do it more.
Yeah.
But it's still such a struggle for me every time.
Yeah.
I drive myself crazy that way.
Well, I think it's because.
But it's just practice.
It seems not as interesting what you're
like
doing.
A waste of time.
Like, oh, it's
like
boring.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah. But then, you know, whenever I hear that, I always think I don't have time not to do that. Like,
it's so true.
I don't have time not to meditate because I get so many downloads and so many ahas. And, you know, they always say if you think that you have all these problems in the morning and then you just meditate, most of those problems work themselves out in your meditation. Yep. And they're just fake perceived problems that you create in your head.
They're not even real. They don't even exist.
Yeah. So really giving yourself time and space and the allowance to get into flow, that is another really big way that you can get into your divine feminine. And then for me personally, I really like to like put my hand on my heart and on my womb, and I kind of like to get into my hips because your hips are very feminine. They store a lot of energy. They're like connected to your chakras. So sometimes when I'm getting ready in the morning and I'm putting on my makeup and I'm just like, I just move my hips while I'm doing it. I'm just like, okay,
I love that.
Put on my lipstick now. I'm gonna brush my teeth. Like, and you know, my husband will come in and he's just like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, don't worry about me. Just practicing my hula dance. It's fine. No, he loves it. But it does make a difference of how I show up in the world when I do that. It helps center me. And it helps get me out of here. Because, you know, our Western society is trained, designed, programmed. Think of all your television programs. They're all programmed to get you to live up here. Yep. And it takes so much conscious awareness and persistence and healing and releasing and surrendering to get down into here. So, you know, just don't shame or blame yourself for not being there. It's fine. Like the fact that you're even watching this video shows you're bringing that awareness into your life. You're bringing that intention. And one piece of it was going to stick. And if that one piece of it sticks, that's wonderful. You just need one little breadcrumb to start following the right path. Yeah. And that's all. It is not a huge, long trill. Like the Great Wall of China was built with one rock at a time. So they, you know, you don't know how it's going to look till it's done, and you can change it in any way, but you just kind of set down that path and go with gentleness and softness.
And kindness for yourself.
Yes. And self-love.
Yes.
And empathy and compassion.
Yeah.
You know, all of those beautiful characteristics that we impose on everybody else. Not even impose isn't the right word, but like that we give, that we offer.
Freely.
We hold that space for everyone else. And a lot of times we are the last person to receive our gifts. So we really, you know, we are our most beautiful expression of ourselves. And we, like, I have this quote on my mirror from Danielle Laporte. I love her. It says, be the person you want to fall in love with.
Oh, I
And
love that.
yeah, it's really just like, you're not doing it for anyone else. You're doing it for you, because you deserve to have that person and have that company, and like welcome yourself home, because your home is where your heart is and where your womb is and where your center is. And so many times we live outside of that. And
Absolutely.
so coming back to that is our journey. That is, you know, what is going to make you feel whole and balanced and centered. So thank you so much for listening. We're going to add a little PDF of the links of the 4 ways to be in your feminine if you are interested. And anything else?
No.
No?
That
Awesome.
wraps it up.
Okay. High five.
Thank you.
High five.